introduction to Python course in class much before before festivals, I guess, right? So I hope you got enough time to explore Google Colab. So as I mentioned, there are some new students today as well. So for them, let us just quickly let me just mention that there is a free platform called Google Colab. Okay, and we will use that for our learning this programming language. We are learning Python, and we'll also learn some numerical methods using this programming language. We started from the very basics in the last class, and what we saw is that we learned a few things about Python. And the first thing that we learned is it's a very easy language. Its syntax is quite similar to what we humans generally perceive as normal, like you don't have to write a lot of header files. You don't have to bring everything in beforehand like C or Fortran. It's not like that. You just open a Python interpreter and you just write, say, A is equal to 12, and directly the value gets assigned. You write. So today's class, we have already learned a little bit about giving input in terms of storing the variables and those things. So we will start formally on two very important things today, and we'll take a short, like 5 minutes break in between, and we will try to cover both these important parts. Right? Modules, importing modules, because that is one of the major powers that we have with Python, right? So we will learn how to import modules. Modules are nothing but small, already written toolboxes, you can assume, which are available, written by experts in Python. As you know, as we said in the last class, right? Python is freeware, and experts in this field continuously develop several packages, several toolboxes for the ease of the community. For different disciplines, for different works, they develop these modules, and we will learn today how to use those toolboxes according to your need. And we will also learn a little bit about lists. Lists are kind of a very important tool that we will use now and then writing any code. And lists are quite similar to arrays, and we will talk about that as well. So this is just a quick recap of what we covered in the last class. Those who missed the last class, you can download the lecture that is available in the class recordings and have a look quickly. So let us start with our step 2 today. I hope you can see my screen, and we will start by learning importing modules, right? So is my screen visible to all of you?
Yes, ma'am, it is visible.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So let us start, right? So if you have, if you want, you can parallelly code write these codes a little bit in your Google Colab. You can open Google Colab, open a new file, and try these things out. You can also try these things out as we conclude the class. After that, you can also do that. But for coding, it's very, very important that you practice, you write the codes, right? It's not like it will never happen if you try to mug it up. You have to write your codes. So giving inputs, this is the point where we stopped in the last class. Let us just quickly begin from there. So as we were saying that you choose your variable name, you put the equal to sign, and whatever values you have, you can either write them separately like this. And with the ease of use, you can also write them like this. You can comma separate them, equate them, and put the values in. So as soon as you do this, 3 small boxes named X, Y, and Z will be in the memory space available for your computer for this program to run. And these 3 values will be stored in those boxes, right? These 3 values will be stored in those boxes. We also learned how to take inputs from users, right? So just let me know how far we have covered. We have covered printing. Have we covered that? How to print your output? I think
Yes,
so, right?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Right? We did this as well. Broken lines, we did that as well, right? Python 2, Python 3, a little bit of difference, adding brackets. That also I think we mentioned. So let me come here. Type of variable. Have that? Type of variable. Let us start from here. So type of variable. So type is basically, as we said, that there are different types that a variable could be of, kind of, right? So we talked about integers, floats, also talked about long, right? So a type of variable is basically a command, a single command, which will tell you that what is understanding about your variable. So suppose you write type and 89, it will give you an output like this, right? It will tell you that it is considering this number as an integer. But as soon as you write 89.0, it will call it a float, right? So this is how this command is to reduce your confusion. It is used just to know that is my already said that if you use all the integers in your code, your output is also going to be an integer. So this command type is sometimes becomes very handy. It's just to take a note of capabilities. So in the last class, I remember there was some confusion about long, right? So which variables would be considered as long and which are not. So see this example, right? This example is pretty handy to understand that long is a specific type of variables that we mentioned in the last class. Now, if we just ask what is the type of 2 to the power 80, so double star is for to the power, right? If you ask Python is pretty smart. So if you ask it what is the type of 2 to the power 80, it will not give you an integer type, right? It will give you a long type, right? Because this is a very long integer. It is understanding that it is calling the type not as integer but as long, right? So there was some confusion about long in the last class. I think that is resolved at this point. So every kind of number, integer or float, complex can be a long number if the numbers involved there are long. It means that Python understood that it is a long number, right? So you can also define some number to be a long number if needed. So there is another kind of type which we have not talked about yet, and it's not that much used in numerical computation that we will do, but that type is str. Type, okay, and just like this, just like that, they have written some numbers. If I in the bracket I write my name, right? If I write my name here, say I write Shanturi, right? And if you press enter, then the type str would be quoted. Str is for string. String means any non-numeric object. Any non-numeric object would be called a string. That true and false are two types that we very frequently use to raise some flags, to use some if else conditions. True and false, they are called type. And false are usually called Boolean objects. So their types would be Boolean. So something like that. So these are all different types of variables that you can have, and you can figure it out that what type of variable we are using. Now let us come to the important part that I wanted to teach you today, and that is importing modules. So importing modules is basically to use a certain kind of function that are not in general available in Python library. So modules are basically pre-written version of codes, a set of functions, a set of commands that are written for your benefit, and you can use those and where you need it, right? So Python has some inbuilt mathematical and other libraries. Sometimes some libraries are also written by some other people. So these modules or toolboxes you can import in your Python program using the call function import, right? So as simple as that. Suppose I have a particular library or a particular module, we call them module in Python, library in other programming languages maybe. In Python, we call them modules. So suppose you have a particular module, you already know that has many math inputs like square root, right? It's not usually available in your Python library, but if you have to import this particular module math to use the functions inside it. So I cannot just write square root of 100, so it will throw some errors. If you just write this, it will throw some errors because this function square root is not in the general Python library. It is inside this particular toolbox math. So if you are doing some mathematical calculation and you need square root operation, then you have to take that box out from the entire library of Python and use that. Okay, is it clear what I'm saying here? So what you have to do, you have to write imports from this particular module. So you can import math, and then the next line you can write math dot the name of the function. So name of the module dot name of the function, and then the operation that you want to do, right? For example, math dot pi. If you write math.py, that number would be printed. You can try it out on your Colab, right? So you can go to your Colab. You just type. Let me just go to my Colab once. Okay, so you can just type colab.research.google.com. Okay, go to your Colab page, and there you open a new file. Okay, you open a new notebook. If you don't have any notebook, it will directly take you to the new notebook. You can open that. I have some existing notebooks, so it is showing those. So you open a new notebook, and in the new notebook, you will see a page where you can write your code, right? So there you will see some on the top, there will be some places where some commands could be placed. File, edit, view, insert, things like that. Something like this you must see in your Colab page, right? And here a cursor would blink. So here you can write whatever code you want to write. So here you can write just square root 100 and check out what is happening. Square root 100, right? And run. If you run this code, so in the first code, as we already said in the last, first you will see allocating. It is allocating some space for you. It will take the space from your own Google Drive. So it will allocate the space, and then only to after that it will be very, very fast. So it's a free platform available through Google account, and it will directly use your Google Drive to store this file. You will find this file in your Google Drive. So as soon as I run this, you can see an error, right? Can you see it? Can you see it? What is it saying? Name error. Name SQRT is not defined. Right? So if you write something wrong, it is throwing an error saying that it does not know what square root means. In Python, the errors also look much prettier than C, right? Here, you can understand what it is trying to say. So it is telling you that I'm not understanding what you are trying to say. Now, let me just do this, import space and math. And the next line I write math dot square root of 100. And I run it, and it runs, right? So it runs and it gives you the output. That means the square root function is lying inside the toolbox of math. So any doubt here, importing modules? Any doubt? Clear,
No,
everybody?
No, madam.
Fine. Okay. So here you can do one more thing. You can do one more thing. You can, sometimes the name of the library could be big, and you have to use it again and again, right? So you can also write import math as, and write a small letter. Say I'm writing import math as M, right? If you write import math as M, then each and every time you use square root, you don't have to write math dot square root. You can simply write M dot square root, right? Do you understand what I'm saying? So you can simply import the library that you are using in a small letter or something like that. So for example, there is a library called NetworkX. NetworkX is a library used for network simulation. So each and every time you have to write NetworkX dot this function, NetworkX dot that function. So maybe I don't want to write that. Then you can write import whatever the name of the library or module is as, and then you write something simple, right? And whatever you write here, that will be taken as if you are calling the library itself. So next time you use a function, you can simply write m dot square root instead of math dot square, right? So it's a mathematical function that lies inside the math module. So what are the some nice handy functions in math module? Math.py. Pi is used several times like this. Sine, cos, power, like 2 to the power 4, right? POW. Like it will also work if you put 2 stars in general Python. If you just put 2 double star 4, that will work. You don't have to import the module. But if you want to use it inside math, POW is the power function. So 2 to the power 4, cos, sine, all the trigonometric functions. And here is what I am, or whatever you want, right? This is up to you. This is a name you give. You can put any handy name, and you can use that, right? So there are some other functions as well, right? As for negative sign of a number, ceiling and floor. Any idea what they do? Ceiling and floor. Ceiling and floor are 2 functions that takes you either, if you have a fraction, it takes you to the nearest integer. But either it is, if it is choosing the ceiling integer, that is the integer bigger than that, it is called ceil function, or floor, it is the lesser number that it chooses, right? So if you put 5.3 and you ask for its ceiling, it will give you 6. If you ask for its floor, it will give you 5, right? Exponential, log 10, all the trigonometric functions, all the inverse function, comparison, min, max. So these are all the system functions that you have inside math module. So if you want to use these functions, you have to import the module first and then use. So suppose I have a code where I need like many of these functions, right? I need many of these functions, and I want to use them again and again. So if you have a, then you can also do this. Okay, so you extract all the available functions, then you don't have to call it again and again. So what do? We write from math import star, from math import star, and then you can directly use it, right? So it is extracting a function from the module. Extracting a function from the module, you can directly use. You don't have to write m dot or math dot. Then you can write from math import, and if you know that you need 2 or 3 of them, you can write their names. If you think you will need a lot of them, then you can write star, and then you can use them, right? So from math import star, and then you write sine pi by 4 without any math dot or m dot, and it works fine. Any doubt here? From math import star or from a module import star? Clear? Everybody understands import star? Fine?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Good. Okay. So let us move on then. So these are all the toolbox tools that you have inside math module, right? So other modules. Let me just teach you another very handy module and give you a quick exercise from there. So some other important modules would be CMath. CMath is a similar module like math, but it can handle complex number operations as well, right? So CMath for complex number operations. Random number generators, which is sometimes very much used in some particular kind of calculations that are needed in statistical physics, material science, where you need frequently to generate random numbers. So various random number generators that are there. So these are some of the important modules that you can use, right? So let us just talk about CMath a little bit. So import CMath, similar way you import the, just a minute. Yeah, so import CMath and you import the module, and then suppose you write CMath dot ABS, that is absolute of -1. Okay. So for complex number operation, okay, and it gives you 1j. J is the imaginary square root of -1, right? So let us just ask ourselves some questions that we can solve using this CMath module. For example, suppose I have a quadratic equation, right? Quadratic equation like ax square plus bx plus c is equal to 0. So this is, suppose this is my equation, right? And I'm asking a question that will this equation have any real solution, or will its solutions be complex or real, or what are the solutions, right? So we know that there is something called a discriminator. We know that b square minus 4ac, right? So suppose I have ABC and it is given to you, then you can figure out what your discriminator is, and from there you can figure out it would be a real solution or complex solution. So let us just solve this problem and write a code. So be with me, and if you have any doubt, just ask me. Okay. So writing a code, solution of quadratic equation using CMath. Now, and you will see that why CMath is essential for this. So I start my code by, so here one important point. You see that the first line I have wrote that hash sign, and then I write solve a quadratic equation, your first code, right? So whatever you write with this hash sign in front, they are commented lines. So when Python will execute the code, it will ignore those lines. So if you have a hashed line somewhere, it's basically a commented line. It's a comment and it will not be executed by the code. So if you are writing a code and you want to switch off any particular line, you can just put a hash sign in front. So we start by importing CMath, and I put 3 numbers for A, B, and C. So let us consider that my equation is x square plus 4x plus 2 is equal to 0, right? X square plus 4x plus 2 is equal to 0. And the question I'm asking, so what do? I calculate the discriminant. Discriminant is b square minus 4ac. That will tell me that is this solution real or imaginary or whatever it is, right? So b square, b double star 2 minus 4ac. Okay, fine. Then I find the results. So I have 2 solutions. One would be minus b plus or minus. So 2 solutions, one is with plus, one is with minus. And then I write CMath dot square root discriminator divided by 2a, right? So you understand this part? Anyone has any doubt in the underlined part? CMath dot square root.
Ma'am, can we use math only here?
Doubts?
Only math module.
Madam,
Yeah.
so why
That
we
is a good question.
use CMath?
Think about it. What do you think? So suppose my b square minus 4ac is negative, then math will not be able to handle it, right? That is why we are using CMath. We don't know that b square minus 4ac would be what? It could be positive. And if it is positive, then math dot square root would work. Obviously, fine, right? You can take a square root of that. But math cannot handle the module math, right? The module math cannot handle any complex numbers. So if you write like math dot square root of say -5, it would again throw some error. It will not work. But if you write CMath square root -5, it would work because it can handle this minus sign inside the square root. Do you get it? Is it clear?
Okay, madam.
Right? Okay. So if you think that in your problem, whatever problem you are solving, somewhere or other there is a possibility that you can encounter some imaginary numbers, you can just simply replace your math with CMath. If you know that there is no possibility that imaginary numbers can come into the picture, you can coolly use math, no problem. Math and CMath are the same two libraries, same libraries. CMath has some extra functions which are particularly applicable to imaginary numbers, complex numbers, but otherwise it's absolutely same. The name of the functions are also same. The only difference is that it can handle this j quantity, right? J, that is root over of -1. It can handle that, where math cannot handle that. So in one step, you basically can achieve this. Using math, that would be very difficult. Using math, you have to have you wrote this code sometime using C? Anyone remembers that you wrote this code? Maybe anyone remembers that you wrote this code with C?
Yes, ma'am.
So can anyone tell me that if I want to use math, then how should I proceed? If I want to use math, then how should I proceed? Suppose I don't have CMath, then what will I do? So not having CMath means that I don't really. Then what could be my steps?
Ma'am, we can apply the if else condition where we
so I don't know
condition.
My if else condition. Very good. Very good. But we don't have not learned about if else yet, right? So that is the benefit of CMath. Using CMath gives you this chance to get rid of one if else condition. So these conditional statements, loops, they always take more time to execute your code. So if you can reduce the number of if else conditions or loops in your code, that makes your program faster. And that is a good trick to learn. And this is what my CMath does here, right? Very good. So if you want to use math, then you have to check that the discriminator is positive or negative, right? So if it is positive, then you can directly square root it. If it is negative, then you have to add another minus sign with that and then square root it, right? Everybody understands? Is it clear? That if you wanted to use math only, then we needed an if else structure, a conditional statement, which we don't have to use if we can use CMath. So now we print our results, printing, taking the output. So we write print, it's Python 3. So I put these brackets, and then I write the roots are, so whatever you write in quotes, that remains intact. And then I write print answer 1, answer 2. So the values of answer 1 and answer 2 would be printed. As you don't have any codes, just the numbers would be printed. So I urge you to write this code on your own once and try it out. Try it out and see that if it is working fine or not. Okay, so this is all about what I wanted to teach. Module is needed for your particular work that you are doing, and there are like more possibilities of some simple arithmetic operation, and I urge you to write these codes as well. For example, Fahrenheit to Celsius conversion. Try to write this code, right? So someone you will enter a Fahrenheit temperature and it will be converted to Celsius. Try to do that. Any other scale conversion, meter to foot, or anything that you want to convert, right? And small problems like Newton's law, equation of motion, surface tension, viscosity, where you have some equations that might involve some square roots, some absolute values, some sine, cos, everything now, right? Because you have learned about math module now. So you can use small problems of electricity and magnetism as well, some small problems of surface tension as well, gravitation as well, where some sine theta, cos theta would be also involved. And you try to solve this, write these small codes that will execute some of these tasks, right? For example, a velocity would be given, and from there it is asking for a particular component of the velocity, right? So try to solve this equation problems. So just look for some simpler problems from your school days books, surf through the internet, find some simple problems, 9th standard, 10th standard, simple equation of motion, some Python codes using math module to solve these codes, right? So try to do these things. Is the problem statement clear? What I want you to do? Is it clear? Right? Any doubt? Fine.
ম্যাম একটা কোশ্চেন ছিল।
Yes, yes.
হ্যাঁ ম্যাম, বলছি যে আপনি যেগুলো বলছেন সেগুলো কি পাই চার্মে কোনোভাবে করা যাবে? মানে আমি আসলে ওই গুগলে খুঁজেছি, আমার এখানে প্রচন্ড স্লো, আমি যার জন্য পুরোটাই মোবাইল থেকে করছি, যার জন্য আমি এখনই দেখতে পাচ্ছি না সবটা।
Yeah, you can use any Python interpreter. That is absolutely fine, right? That is absolutely fine.
হ্যাঁ
Google, I am referring Google Colab because it can be used through online, and it will be with your Google Drive. You can access it from anywhere. It is not a computer dependent stuff, right? So, but you can use it using any Python interpreter. Even some mobile apps is absolutely fine, right? Whatever works for you, no problem. Several mobile apps are also available, right? Which allows you to write these small codes. Okay, you can do that. So let me just quickly tell you about some important packages that we use frequently. For example, SciPy. SciPy is a library that is used for ODE solving, right? Ordinary differential equation solving, integration, interpolation, linear algebra. Very much used. SciPy, a very favorite package of scientists, and a lot of functions available into it. So these you can explore on your own. NumPy and Matplotlib. NumPy is another one where you have several high-level mathematical functions like multidimensional arrays, matrices, exceptionally good in handling matrices, and adding like data manipulation. Another software, another package that you have for generating plots. So this is
Ma'am, those
another
are free or any?
lesson each. I will take one class about graphical interpretation. Everything is free in Python. Everything is free. That is one of the major reasons of choosing Python over MATLAB for this course, right? This is entirely free. You can download any of these packages. Okay. So all of these are freely available. Matplotlib is used for plotting 2D plots, histograms, bar charts, error charts, beautiful plotting and beautiful color schemes, basically. So I will teach you a little bit about Matplotlib in one particular class. And these are some specific domain specific, I would say, packages like NetworkX. I use it frequently for complex networks, dynamical studies, social network studies, things like that. Astropy is one that is used for people who work in astronomy, astrophysicists, they use it a lot. Pandas is for data manipulation, data structure, numerical tables, time series, specifically analysis, things like that. So there are several hundreds and thousands of packages available. All are freely available and all can be installed in your Colab or in your machine which you are using. Mobile app might not support everything, but if you have a computer or if you are using Colab, you can add any of these packages and you can use them freely, explore them freely. Okay. So importing all of them works in the same way as I taught you to import math, import and name of the package, and that's it, right? So here, so I stop here for a couple of minutes. Whatever we discussed till now, please have a quick look to that and keep a note of that. Now we will shift our track a little bit and discuss about lists and arrays a little bit, right? So I will take a break of like 3-4 minutes. You take your time and explore whatever we discussed so far. Fine?
Okay.
Partho, Suresh, you could join, right? So no problem. We were not there in the last class. So I hope everything is fine. You can understand whatever we are discussing. Suresh and Partho?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Hello, ma'am. Hello, ma'am.
Yes, yes. Anyone is facing any trouble?
Ma'am, how can we access the recording of last class? We didn't get it in the Teams.
It's not there in the Teams. It should be there. Otherwise, I have a recording of the previous year's class. I can give that to you. It will be tentatively more or less. Some content would be similar, right? You can have a look at that. Okay.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay, so I hope you looked into whatever the code that I just wrote. I saw have shown you. You have tried to write that code, right? Is it working fine? Importing modules working fine? Those who
Yes, ma'am.
tried?
It is working.
Okay, fine, good. So let us now start on the next part, and that is another important aspect, right? So that is about lists. So these lists are basically similar to, I would say, almost similar to arrays that you handled before, right? Those who have done some programming before, you must have came across the word arrays, right? C, in Fortran. So there are terms like list, tuple or tuple, set, dictionary that comes under the under this segment of discussion, and also a little bit of strings I would talk about. So these are basically to help you take control over the data structure, right? So handling like a big data set, for example, say you work in particle physics, you work in material science, astrophysics, finance, where you have a huge amount of data to handle, right? So there you need some particularly good data structure for big data analysis. And these words are really coming up nowadays: big data, deep learning, machine learning, statistical analysis. So these things would not work at all if you don't have a good grip on understanding what are lists. So, and also in general, handling plots, 2D plots and things like that, lists are indispensable. So we have to learn about them. So let us think what lists are. So lists is basically a collection of items, I would say, that is a better terminology for it, that are useful to recall for a particular operation. So suppose you want to say a number of numbers or a number of words, and you want to use them for a particular operation later, then you save them in terms of a list or array. Okay, so you can so the difference between array is there are some, but the major difference is that in case of lists, you can create something like a mixed box. So you can have some numbers, some characters, some strings, some names, all mixed, all jumbled up, and you can call it still a list. In arrays, usually it is a single type of variable, right? So we talked about type of variables. Generally in arrays, you have a single type of numbers or variables or strings or whatever it is. A single type would be present. In case of lists, generally it's a mixed box. It could be a mixed box. It's free of choice, whatever you want to choose. So these are some good example of lists. Define it. You write whatever name you choose. You put a equal to sign, and enclosed in third brackets, separated by comma, put them in. Enclosed in third bracket, separated by comma, you define a list of numbers. Okay. Similarly for list of strings as well. So you have a, say, a list of names or words. So there also you write third brackets separated by comma, right? And if they are strings, these are associated always with them. These quotes, single quotes, are associated with that. Okay, so this is how you define it. You can also define a mixed list like this. So for example, I define a list like this, say good, okay, 12, sky, 1, that is also allowed, no problem. You can define something like that, and that would be a mixed list. Okay, so this is not the case in general for arrays. So that is one of the main difference between lists and arrays. So definition is kind of same. You put these third brackets and separated by comma. So to show your list on screen, you can write just simply print A. Okay, you can write print A, and it will print the entire list that you have. So it does not matter that in whatever way we write, the display of the list would on the Python interpreter, and it will give you an empty list, right? If you just write list, open, close, and don't write anything inside the bracket, it will also give you a list where there is nothing. So it will just give you like where nothing is inside it. Okay, so that is also how you create a blank list, so to say, right? Suppose in a code to begin with, you need a list where later on you will append, you will add some numbers as they are generated in your code one by one. You want to add them, you just create a blank list like this. So now let us just quickly learn some features or some commands associated with this list. And the first thing would be length, len. And as I already emphasized again and again, Python has a very nice set of commands. It's very easy to remember, and the operations are also very straightforward. So length means the total number of items. How many items do you have? So for example, in this particular list that we are working with, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 items. So if I write len a, then it will give me 6. Okay, so how many numbers you have, how many items you have inside that list? Okay, similarly this is for the other matrix, other list that we had, right? In the other list B, if you see, there were 4, 1, 2, 3, 4 elements. So same command gives you 4. Okay, another very useful one is sum. And that is sometimes very much used for some small statistical operations like figuring out average, figuring out statistical properties of distributions, histograms, things like that. Sum is a one-liner for figuring out the sum of all the individual numbers that are there. So sum A, it sums over the numbers in the list of A. Okay, another very important command, very useful, I would say, in several cases. So you can just call a sum of all these numbers and it will give it in a straightforward way. Here, one very important thing that I need you to remember, and don't forget it for whatever you study in Python, don't forget this, is that the count of a list, right? Count of the positions, right? This one, a position of each and individual of these numbers, the count starts from 0. So 3 is not the first element, it is the 0th element of list A, right? So items in a list are counted from 0 onwards, and remember this very well. Don't get confused with that later on. This is something that is one of the grammars of Python. It is underlying in Python. So it starts counts from 0. Therefore, in this list A, if you want to pick up a particular element, so if you write A and then you start a third bracket and you write 1. So this is called the index. Inside whatever you are writing, this is the index. And index is basically this serial number of the position of this particular items in the list, right? So if you write A1, what should I get? the element that has index 1. So which one would it be?
2.5.
2.5. Not be 3, right? It would not be 3, it will be 2.5. Is it clear to everybody that the counting starts from 0? Is it clear?
Yes, ma'am.
What if you want to pick up the last element from here? You will write A5. So for a list of length 6, the last element is A5, right? So you can basically, if you want to pick up the last element of any list, say you don't know how many numbers are there and you don't know what to put here. So what can you do? You can write n is equal to length of A, right? And then I ask you to pick up the last digit. Then what will be the command for that? A n minus 1. Are you getting it? Are you getting this part? Picking up the last element of a particular list. Any doubt here?
It is clear, ma'am.
Is it
Clear.
clear? Everybody? Good, good, very good.
Ma'am,
Yeah.
ma'am, within the list, we have written like 3, 2.5. After the comma, there is a space. This is necessary to keep this space between.
No, it's not necessary. It's not necessary, but you can keep a space, no problem. Okay,
Okay.
you can just comma separate and write. Space is not like needed. You can put
Okay.
it, you can get rid of it, no problem. Okay.
Ma'am, also we can say that this list can be said as an array also.
Yeah, it is basically an array, but we call it in general a list because we are dealing with strings as well, where you have elements like sky, sand, things like that. We call it a list in general. If you have a list where only numbers are there, a single type of numbers are there, then we call it an array. That is the difference between list and array in Python. This is basically the concepts of array are all true for lists. Whatever you learned about array is all true for lists. Okay.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay. Here about counting the elements, I want to mention one more thing, and that is that the counting also works in action as well. For example, like in this particular array that we have, this particular element that we have might be considered to have an index of -1 as well, right? So you can also call them like this is -1 serial number, -2, this is serial number, -6. That is also a reverse direction serial numbers can be called. So you can basically also call a of -6, and that would give you, what would be the number? 3. Okay. So the counting works in positive and negative directions. The indexing works in positive as well as in negative direction. So if I call, say, a -2, what will it show? A -2?
5, ma'am.
-1.
5.
A -2?
5, ma'am.
A
5.
5, right? No confusion? Anyone has any confusion? 5. Right. Good. It would be 5. So counting works from this side -1, -2, left side 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, this is the way we count. Okay, so very good. Now let us try to learn some more things. So this is all about that particular stuff, that counting that I mentioned. So A1 gives you 2.5, A -1 gives you 0. So fine. Let us now take one step forward and learn to slice a list. So suppose I have this list, right? A, and I want a part of it. I just want a part of the list. I want to get rid of the other terms. So this is the command for it. 1:4. So it will start from the 1, that is the element at 1 position, and will end at the element at 4 position, not reach that. It will stop before that. Okay, so it will start from 1 and go up to 3. One step before the number of 4, it will stop. Okay, so do you understand what I'm saying? So here the serial numbers were 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 1:4 would only capture these 3 numbers. It will not go to the 4th term. Before that it will stop. Okay, so if you want to start from the very beginning, you don't have to put anything in the beginning. You just put the colon and the number where you want to stop. So it is something like where you don't touch, just before that you will stop. This is the serial number up to which you will go, not touching that particular value. Okay, so this is about slicing a list, cutting a list into pieces. If you want to pick up, yeah. Any doubt? Any doubt? Fine. Okay. Okay. So let us move on to the next part, and that is the other way around. That is figuring out the index or the serial number of a certain number. So here also the command is pretty simple. So what that is, you want to know the position of an item, right? Location or position of a particular item in a list. So what do? You take the list, name of the list, then put a dot and use the command index. That is the serial number, the position, the location of that particular number, and you put inside the bracket the number that you want to figure out. So for example, in this particular case, if you put 2.5, what will be the result? What will be the result? A dot index 2.5 would be 1. Why this is 1? Is it clear? Is it clear to everybody why this is 1?
Yes,
any doubt? No,
please
right?
repeat it again.
Yeah. So you want to know the position of a particular number. Suppose you want to know what is the position of 4.0. So you will write a dot index and then you write the number for which you want to know the position, 4.0. So what will be the output? Who will say? What will be the output of this?
I think 2.
2. Very good. Why 2? Because this is 0, this is 1, and this is 2. Okay. Counting starts from 0. So 0, 1, 2. 2 is the index of 4.0. So index is basically the position of that particular number. Is it clear?
Yes, ma'am. But if ma'am in any list, suppose repeating numbers are there, suppose 3, 3, then if I put the index 3, then which will show?
Nice question. So think about it. Try it out. Try it out. That which what result does it give? Right? Try it out. And let me know what is the result that you are asking. Is suppose I have same number repeated twice in a list, then what will be the result that I'm getting? Okay, so try it out. Define a list.
It is giving the first one, ma'am.
It is giving the first one. It will give you the first one. Okay, if you want to run it, if you want to get all, there is a particular command for this, that if you want to get all of them, another way would be and then see. So I will come to that. So sort it and then figure out the serial number of that particular. If you just give index, then it will just pick up the first one, first position where it founds that particular number, and the code will stop there. It will give that output and it will stop there. Okay, so index for multiple values, what you asked, would be stopped if you have just received the first number. Once you reach that, it will stop. Can you hear me?
Ma'am, now it is audible, but minutes before it was
was audible.
Okay. Okay, so fine. So suppose I have a list with all of your marks in a list, right? In mid-sem, whatever you have scored in particular exam, whatever you have scored, I have the marks. And I want to know that what is the maximum marks and what is the serial number, what is the roll number of that person who got that marks. Okay, something like that. So how will I write the code? I will use max and min, the two commands that are in the Python dictionary. Max of A will give you directly the number that is maximum in this particular list. So in this particular case, it would be 5. Min of A would give you the minimum number, -1. So one step command for finding out the maximum and minimum. So these are all good commands that are very helpful in Python, like maximum, minimum, sorting. All these things come out in one-liners here. So that is basically much more easier in that particular sense. So you figure out what is the maximum number or what is the minimum number using just this one-liners, max or min. So if I want to know the position of this particular number, then what will I write? A dot index, and I don't have to define it separately. You can just put it inside this command only. So what you write? A dot index max A. Okay. Just don't forget your brackets. Don't forget to close all your brackets properly. So two things Python is very sensitive about. One is its brackets. Another is its tabs. So once we start learning about loops, you will see that tabs are something that Python is very sensitive about. And another thing is brackets. So don't forget to close all the brackets that you have opened, and you can write it in a single line command. So you can write a dot index max A. So it will start executing from this way. So what will it do? It will figure out what is max A and put that value here, right? So max A would be 5. So for Python, this code actually means a dot index of 5, because this is the way it will execute the code, right? This is the way. So Python always starts from the innermost bracket that it has and executes from there. So the innermost bracket will be executed first, then the next one, then the next one. That is how it will grow. So it will figure out what is max A. It will put the value here. So then you are asking basically the index of 5. So it will figure out what is the index of 5 and what is it? 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So it will print 4. Clear? Doubt? Anybody? Fine?
Yes, ma'am.
Cool. So let us do some actual serious calculation in a two-liner code, right? Figuring out variance and standard deviation of a data set. So suppose I have just the same thing, like list of all your marks in a particular exam, and suppose you are not in a less number like 10 or 20. Maybe I had 400 students and I have everyone's marks. Say I'm teaching a course where 400 students are BTech course that I am teaching, where like 300, 400 students are there. So I have to grade them. How do I grade them? I figure out what is the average, and then from there, using the standard deviation, the grades should be marked in a statistical analysis. That is how it should be done, right? It should not be like from a particular number to a particular number, everyone gets this grade, but it should depend on how the entire class has scored. So that is a grading system that we have in many universities. That is how you score. So what do? You have all these numbers, you figure out what is the average of it. What is the average of it? You mark it a particular grade, and then you take the standard deviation, and depending on that, you segment your batches of students getting higher or lower grades compared to the grade that they got, right? So it is a comparative grading kind of a structure, and it's not an absolute grading that the margins like 100, 90, 80, these are not fixed. So this could be different depending on how the entire class has performed. So for this kind of calculation, what we need is the variance and standard deviation of a particular data set. So suppose I have a series of numbers. What is the definition of variance? Variance is you find the average, then you take a difference, and then you take a square for each and every number. You sum it up, divide by total number. You take a square root of that and you get the standard deviation. Okay. So tell me how to do that. from whatever you have learned so far. Can you do it? From whatever we have learned so far, can we do it for say this particular array? We have not learned about loops yet, but think about it. Do we really need any loop operation here, or can we do that? So take this as a home task. Okay. So take any array you like, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 elements, whatever number of elements you want. You know sum command, you know len command, you know how to perform squares, you know how to perform square roots. You again know how to perform sum, right? So can you figure out variance or standard deviation for a particular list? Right? Homework. Try to do it. It should not take much time. It should not take much time. You can try it on your own. Okay. So try it out. Do we have a little bit of time? Yes, so maybe 10 minutes more. So let us move on and learn what we were learning about manipulating our list. So some quick commands about lists, and these are sometimes very much effective, and you can see some particular cases where this would be effective, these commands. One important one is reverse. Reverse is that you have a list, you write a dot reverse open close, nothing inside, right? A dot reverse open close, and it reverses the list. Whatever the serial numbers were, they got completely reversed. So you start from this array and you get 0, 5, -1, 4, 2.5, 3. Okay, reverse. So you can perform the reverse again and get back the original list. So sometimes this could be effective or needed. One particular case is sorting. So if you just ask Python to sort your array, it's a one-liner again. So you can write, this is the array that you have, and you ask a dot sort open close, first bracket, nothing inside, a dot sort open close, and it sorts your element in ascending order. It sorts your elements in ascending order. So what would be the order? -1, 0, 2.5, 3, 4, 5. So it sorts. Okay, but remember it is ascending order. So sort command in one step does an ascending order. So what will you do if you are asked to say do this in descending order? What will be the step that you will follow? Suppose I give you an array and ask you to write a code to sort an array in descending order. What will you do?
Sort and then reverse.
Sort and then reverse, right? So you sort one liner and then reverse, then you get a descending order list, right? So sort and reverse, so we'll give you the descendant order list. So in case of strings, if you sort, it sorts alphabetically. If you have instead of numbers, if you have words, though that is not very much relevant for a numerical course. If you have if you have strings, then it will sort it alphabetically. Okay, so that is sorting, ascending or descending order. This is another way of handling sorting, and that is sorted, and in brackets you write the name of the array that you want, right? So sorted open close is also a command for sorting the array, where the array is, the list is a new list. You can assign it to a new list, right? So you can write whatever, like A, B, C, whatever is equal to sorted of A, and the previous list would remain whatever it was. So the difference, I guess you understand what I'm trying to say here. Suppose A is this, and you write A dot sort open close, whatever the sorted array was, that would get stored in A only. That would be stored in A only. So A will be gone. Whatever your previous order was, this previous order that you had to begin with, that would be gone. So if you don't want to do it, sorted, open, close, and inside you that you have the name of the array and assign some new name to your sorted list. Are you understanding what I'm saying here? Is it clear what I'm saying here? Here your A remains intact. A does not change. So A is still this, right? And AA or whatever the other list you have defined looks like this. That is the sorted list. Is it clear? Any doubts here? Any doubt, guys?
No.
Fine. Okay. So if you want to do the descending order, inside this you write reverse equal to true. So here is this true thing that I was talking about, right? True and false are two Boolean functions that are many a times used to raise a flag or perform or not perform any particular operation. So if you write sorted inside bracket A comma reverse equal to true, then it would reverse it. Okay, it would reverse the array and give you the descending order list. Okay, so yeah, so we have covered sorting, ascending and descending order, and just the last thing, and we will stop here for today. That is appending. Appending means adding a new element in your list. So how will you do that? Again, very simple. So you take your array, okay, and you write A, that is name of the array, a dot, append is the command. Append means adding at the last, right? So, and you write what you want to add. What is the number that you want to add? So if you write like this, it would be added at last. As the last element of the list, it would be added. Okay. As a last element of the list, it would be added. This new number 10 would be added to your list. So appending and popping. Popping is throwing out one particular number from the list. So if you just write A and then you this is your list that you have, and you write A dot pop 3. So it removes the number that is, or item, whatever it is, in the position 3. Pop is popping out one particular item from your list. So what will happen? This is the index at which it will go. So 0, 1, 2, 3, it will go here and it will pop it out of the list. So it will pop it out and you will be left with 3, 2.5, 4, 5, 10. Okay. So clear? Popping out and appending? Clear? Okay. Fine. So just if you don't write any element number inside, popping just pops out the last element. So it is like you have a list and they are like disks on the in a stack. So 3, 2.5, on that you have 4, on that you have 5. So this is your ground floor, first floor, second floor, third floor, or something like that. So if you just write pop open close, then it pops out from the top. So 5 goes, then 4 goes, then 2.5 goes, and something like that. So if you just go and write A dot pop open close, then whatever is on the top gets popped out of the list. So this is how you alter your list, and you pop out, remove items from your list, or you append some numbers in your list. You figure out the sum, the mean, the length of the list, and so on, right? So we learned two very important things today about importing modules. We learned specifically about math and CMath, and also learned a lot about handling lists. So experiment with both of these in your Colab or whatever platform of your choice. You write your own codes and think about simple codes that you can write that will involve lists. So try to work out the problem that we just discussed, figuring out the variance or the standard deviation of a list of numbers, and also experiment on some new codes that you can think of, right? So let us just stop here for today. And if you have any doubts, we can talk about it, or we will finish up for today. Anything you want to ask?
ম্যাম বলছি ওই পার্টটা একটুখানি বলবেন তো, ওই এ লিস্টটাকে ইনট্যাক্ট রেখে, মানে এটাকে ওটার জন্য একমাত্র পার্টিকুলার রেখে যেটা বলছিলেন।